Hi there, it's Steve at the Vintage Model Builds channel again, and as promised in the unboxing video, I'm going to start working on one of these vehicles today. So this is a beginner's kit, very simple, very straightforward, and so I'm going to treat this as a first time if you've never built a model before. I did this with the Matchbox 172 Mosquito, but this is an even more basic kit. So this will be a great video to watch if you're a young person just starting out in the hobby, or an older person just starting out in the hobby. And so let's get down to it. Alright, so here's what we're going to need. We're going to need some plastic cement. I'm going to use the Tamiya Extra Thin. You can use Mr. Hobby, which produces Mr. Cement. This is a thicker one, but it won't be needed here. You can always use, I think Testers makes, actually the first liquid cement that I ever used was Testers with the brush. And as I said in the previous video, you want to avoid the glue in a tube or the cement in a tube. It's difficult to work with, messy, and while you can use it, the best way to do that is to squirt some of it out onto a small piece of tin foil and then apply it with a toothpick or a fine brush. If you're using a brush, you want to make sure that you clean it well with solvent, otherwise the brush will just all glue up and will become useless. Alright, so here we go. So today we got three vehicles here. That's my new lamp. There we go. This will be a little better. I'll need to have the lamp on when I'm doing the model. But today we're going to do the Kettenkrad, which is the tracked cycle. This one. Alright. Very simple stuff here. Okay? But we'll show you the basic techniques on how to build a model. Okay, so we'll set this aside. Oh, and paper towel. Some kind of paper towel. You always want to have some of that handy in case you spill. And if you're painting, wipe your brushes and so on and so forth. Okay, so we've got the cement. And we've got a hobby knife. These are very sharp. So use them with adult supervision and have an adult teach you how to use them. I did a video on sharp safety back in the model railroad days. It's still on the channel. But basically, never point it towards yourself and never get your fingers between what you're cutting and the knife. I'll show you one other technique that you'll need to be very careful with and be quite dexterous with. Okay, so we've got our cement here. And we've got a pair of nippers, side nippers. They're flat on one side. Okay, we'll show you how to use those. And a file. This is just a regular emery board. You can get a pack of 6 or whatever at the dollar store for a couple of bucks. So it's not too fine, but fine enough for what we're going to do here today. Okay, so first thing we're going to do. This won't take long at all. So I hope you'll stick with me. Alright, so we'll take the knife here, or you can use scissors if you're not very confident with the knife. Open her up. So today's video will demonstrate the most basic of techniques. Here's the clear plastic parts. Set those aside. Lay that down. Now, one safety tip is, you see this will roll. Alright. I suppose you can get ones that are flat, but when you're just starting out and when you're just learning, whenever you're finished with the knife, put it back in its cover and set it down off the board. Likewise, with the cement, you want to make sure you screw the lid back on. Now you won't necessarily see me do that because I'm quite experienced, and so I'm just used to it and I can take care. You'll get there too. Alright, so this is the Kettenkrad. These are the parts for the Kettenkrad here. And so what I'm going to do is, these are nice new sharp nippers. I'm going to use these old ones. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut this sprue off. These are all the accessories, the barrels, fuel cans, crates, and okay, so we'll set that aside. I said this would be short and sweet. There's only 2 steps here. Okay. As always, what you should do is you should read and understand the instructions before you go ahead and go online. You know, watch a video or whatever if you're not sure about something. And if you know, in much more complicated models, you can always contact the manufacturer if you need to. Okay, so you got that. Put these away. Alright, so first thing is we take the body off, and when you're cutting this, you don't want to get too close to the actual piece, even though they're flat nippers, because you might cut off part of it, and there you go. Okay, so we've got that, and where are we here? Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is sprue C, and they number the parts, C6, whatever the case may be. Alright, so we've got C10, C15, and C6. Okay. Some people take all the parts off of the sprue and put them in, you know, little dishes for each assembly step. I don't like to do that. I like to take them off as they're as I'm building. Right, and the nippers are fine for bigger parts, but for smaller parts like this and the seat, we'll use the knife. Now you can use the knife like this, or you can use a knife like this. Younger modelers who might not have as strong fingers might need to do this, but this, just like a pencil or a pen, gives you much more control. Again, I'm going to hold it down with my fingers well away from the knife and cut that. Okay, so that's the other one. And then we've got C15, which is the seat. Again, that's a teeny tiny part. Okay, so we can set that aside. You'll see here there's some stuff left over. I'm sorry my camera doesn't zoom. But here's the basic technique. You take it off, and then you use your knife to cut off the excess. And this is too small to pare, so I'm going to use the file. And you want to be careful with these delicate parts. You don't want to put too much leverage or torque on them. It's nice plastic, seems easy to work with. You want to blow off any of the little bits that are left. Run your finger across, and you'll feel whether it's smooth or not. And these might seem like picky little steps, but in the end you'll end up with a better model altogether. Okay, there's that. Alright, so we've got that. Do this. And this one here just came off, it just broke off the sprue, but the piece is fine. So I'm just gonna sand that down a bit, and this will just become habit. You know, you'll just do it without even thinking about it. Okay, and so this is big enough to pare. So when you pare, this is paring. And this is the only time you'll draw the knife towards you. And so you need to be very careful. Don't put too much pressure, because if it goes through, it's going to hit your finger. There you go. Okay. Okay, so, and then again, just a little bit of sanding. Make sure it's all done. And if you're just starting out, if you're just beginning, you might want to you might want to sand more than you pare. And if you're a younger person, you want to make sure you do it with adult supervision. Okay, so we just follow the diagram here. This is the rear. Actually, this is the front. Huh. Okay. And you'll see there's two little holes and two corresponding pins. So here we go. We'll open this up. And in most cases, you don't need very much glue at all. And in most cases, less is more. And like I said in the video yesterday, measure twice, cut once. And this next one goes for cooking too. You can always add, but it's difficult to take away. So we're just going to drop a little bit in here. And pop this on. Get it in place. Oh, here's the other tool you'll need. Tweezers. I like the offset ones like we see here. But there's straight ones too. And you'll probably want more than one pair. I have 3 pairs. 2 straight, 1 more fine than the other. And I don't know if you could hear that, but you'll feel and hear when the part snaps into place properly. Okay, the next part here is the seat. Geez, these parts are tiny. And this is why the offset ones are good. Because now I can, oh, we'll go the other way. This way. Okay, you want to look at that at different angles. Make sure it's straight. There we go. And here, I haven't built an Academy kit before, so I'm learning their legend, their code. The triangle with the number in it, that's for the paint. So this, they say for the tracks, paint number 6, and that's metallic gray. So I'm not going to paint this right now. As my Filipino wife says, later na lang. Right now I'm just going to concentrate on assembling it and showing you how to do it. The other thing too is for younger modelers, you know, there's no reason an 8 or 10-year-old can't get started out on this with adult supervision. And it might be difficult for someone that age, even though they have tiny fingers. working with these teeny tiny parts. They might not have the dexterity yet. So a larger kit, a larger scale kit might be better. This is 172, but you might want to go with a simple 148 kit and build it with your parent or guardian. Okay, so next is the tracks. We'll take these off. And when you're doing the final cut off of the sprue, you want to make sure you hold the part, especially if it's a tiny one, so it doesn't go flying off, never to be found again. All right, there we go. And again, a little bit of sanding. And this is going to take a little digging out. There we go. These parts are nicely molded, and I'm not seeing any any flash. I always get those two mixed up. Like crossword puzzles and jigsaw puzzles. Ha! Okay. There we go. And again, very gently. There. All right. So again, make sure you've got it facing forward the right direction. See, now the seat fell back a little bit there. You still got some time to readjust it. There we go. Okay. Well. You want to make sure you've got it the right way forward. Again, measure twice, cut once. Get that into the slot and hold it. And here's the other thing you want to do. It's called a dry fit or a test fit before you apply the glue. You want to test it, see how it goes in there, if you need to trim anything, whatever the case may be. Okay, so we've got both the tracks on. You want to hold that for a moment or two. The Tamiya extra thin cement, it sets up pretty quickly. But generally speaking, you want overnight. You want to set it aside overnight, especially when you're doing airplane wings and things like that. You probably want to clamp them and leave them overnight before you work more on them. Okay, so next is C16. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, Here's C16. C7. Now, it looks like there's also an optional part here. So we'll take a look at that in just a moment. And we got C19. That's a job for the knife. Go. And C22, which is this one here. So for these smaller parts, you want to make sure they're out of the way so you don't, brush them over. Ideally, put them in a dish. That way nothing gets lost. And that other part is D. So let's see what we've got here. Where is sprue D? This is still sprue C. A. Oh, sprue D is the clear. I'm just going to use the regular one. I'm not going to use the clear one. I don't know why they do a clear one there. I guess it's to show the little motor here. If you want to show the motor. Okay, so again, here we go. We're going to and you want to be careful that you don't gouge out. This one's a little more problematic. And yeah, that's in an awkward place. Here's the other thing you can do when it's something like this. Do the scrape it back and forth, back and forth. There. Okay. Alright, and again, we'll dry fit this. And I don't know if you can see in the camera, there's a tiny little gap there, right here. Tiny little gap there, which we can either leave or putty over. Right. And we had C16 here. Oh, yeah, the other thing you want is a wastebasket nearby. Or a cardboard box you can toss things in. Alright. And it just takes a moment or two to hold it. There we go. Again, you want to make sure it's straight. There we go. Got a tiny bit of flash on that ejector pin. You'll see the little round holes or raised areas. Hopefully, if it's a good quality kit, it's not going to be in a place that makes much difference. And those are the marks for the ejector pins that are used to push out the molded plastic when it's done, when the molding is done. Okay, again, sand it down. Dry fit. Go. And you can tell which way it goes on because, you know, there's two little pins there, and then there's two little holes on the part. There we go. That's that step completed. Or that part of the second step. Time for a drink of tea. Okay, so we've got C18, which is the wheel. And very carefully, I'll cut this off with the nippers. Excuse me. Oh, and here's a little tip when you're dealing with wheels. You notice where it was attached to the sprue was there. This came off pretty well, but sometimes, you know, you might make a mistake and flatten it out or whatever when you cut it. So this is in a good spot, but don't despair if that happens. If you've got a wheel that you can turn, you can flatten that down a little bit with you know, sand it down a little bit, and so it looks like there's weight on the tire. This instruction says do not cement this. I guess that's so you can turn the wheel. So we're just going to insert this, carefully press it down, and the wheel can be turned. So there's that. And then we've got C17, which is the headlamp. Tiny little piece. So again, you want to carefully put your finger on it and now this is on a bit of an angle, so you want to cut this on a bit of an angle. There we go. My goodness, it's a tiny little piece. Okay, and there's a flange here, And there's a slot here. So put the glue on the flange. Pick the part up with the tweezers. Ah! Okay, so after a little treasure hunt there, we found that. A bit more glue. Okay, there we go. Disaster averted. And we got the handlebars. And you want to be really careful here with these. And, oh, anybody who's seen my videos before, I like to use this glass panel with newspaper on top. I also have one of these, but it's so nice I don't want to wreck it by cutting into it. So I use it for other things. And this has a little hole in it, but there's no corresponding, well, maybe there was a corresponding tab, but I've sanded it off. Ah. Measure twice, cut once. Anyways, it doesn't matter in this case. Go. Sits on there nicely. Excuse me. And here we have the last two base pieces, the side guards. Here's another tip. Save your sprue until you're sure you've completed the kit. Don't toss it away and then find later that there's a little piece on there that you might have needed. So that gets set aside. And again, very carefully here because of we have a very delicate piece here. Alright, and then again, very carefully, you want to hold it there we go. There's one. And again, these knives are very sharp. You never want to point it at yourself or anyone else for any reason. Okay? They're tools, not weapons. Okay, so here we go. It shows, you know, there's a little flange here. Ah, okay, so that makes sense then. Okay, these are not the track guards. These are the sides of the cargo passenger area. So again, a dry fit. again, there's a tiny gap there. And that's so tiny that it could be, it can be filled in with paint. Okay, once again. And there we have it. The completed Kettenkrad tracked cycle. There you go. That took us a little under an hour. Probably could have been done faster, but I was narrating. And okay, so $24 divided by 3, well, 4 counting the accessories. But, you know, again, down to about $5 an hour, and you could even spend more time on it if you wanted to paint the parts individually before assembling. Okay, so that demonstrates the most basic of techniques for modeling. You master those, and you'll do fine. So thanks for joining me. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and I hope that especially young modelers will find it very helpful. So have a great day, and we'll be back with the second vehicle build. Have a great day.